I, 26F, kicked my soon-to-be ex-friend, 25F, out of my house. As the title says, last week I kicked what I thought was a good friend out of my house because I can no longer handle her antics. Just want to write it here just to de-stress and deal with the grief of losing a friend. Kendall, 25F, and I met in university in 2016. We studied different majors, but were from the same department, so we share many classes together and bonded over our passion for gaming and memes. Upon graduation, Kendall moved back to her hometown due to COVID and found a job there. We kept in touch online through Instagram. About 3 years later, Kendall told me she found a better-paying job in the city. So she's planning to move out from her parents' place. When I asked her about her plans on her accommodations, she replied with, "That's the thing. I was going to ask if you have an extra bedroom that I could move into." For context, I have inherited an apartment from my late grandfather, which is a nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath near the city center last year, January, and I currently live alone there since it is closer to my workplace and it has all the convenience of public transport. After some thinking, I thought that there's no harm in living with Kendall since I considered us as close friends. We discussed the terms and OFC the rent. A week later, Kendall moved into my apartment. It was great at first. My home felt more lively than usual, and the thought of going home to a close friend warmed my heart and gave me a sense of security. Things were okay for a while, and then *T goes downhill super quick. Kendall started complaining about many things at home, about her work, her savings, and how she feels homesick. At first, I was very accommodating, thinking maybe she just needs time to get used to the city life. I offered as much help as I can, even to the point of if she's low on money, I don't mind voiding a month's rent if it meant I could help her to achieve financial stability. I taught her how I save money, how I live off with my then low salary with several commitments like my car, my dog, and a student loan. I grew up where my parents expect me to be independent, so I told her things I do when I'm low on cash, how to get freelance jobs, etc., but she always seemed to have excuses for every suggestion I have. Finding a freelance job is too hard, or how she couldn't let go of her premium junk food, that she isn't willing to cook or meal prep, and I eventually decided to leave it as it is. And after 2 months of living together, I realized Kendall started treating me as some kind of competition. She would constantly ask me things like how much money I make a month, how many job hoppings did that take. Anything that she thinks she's better than me, she'll definitely pop that question. She boasts about how she is loyal to her #TTY paying company, and how I would never be able to move up the corporate ladder, as she called me, an industry frog face. She once snooped my savings balance and asked how TF did I have so much saved up with commitments, etc. Mind you, she didn't have a lot of commitments since her parents paid off her student loans and fully paid off a brand new car for her, and maybe I should stop collecting rent from her. I got mad and told her if she isn't happy living with me, maybe she should move out. Cue crocodile tears as she said it was a joke. I didn't have to take her seriously. She begged for forgiveness and promised to never snoop my personal items and details again. I let it go once, but she kept bringing things up like, "Well, you have the cash and a credit card." Every time I told her I'd rather stay home because I no longer have the budget to go out and have fun. Comments like these became more frequent when I got a new job 6 months ago. On top of that, she doesn't clean up after herself, tried to flirt with my boyfriend, and at times parked in my parking space when our initial agreement was that she has to find her own parking space if she's moving in with her own car because my apartment only has 1 parking lot per unit. The straw that broke the camel's back was when I caught her kicking my dog in his abdomen when I got home from work. I yelled at her and rushed to check my dog. Luckily he was fine, but I still rushed him to the vet for safety measures. I got home and she sneered that it was just a dog, and as a friend I shouldn't treat her like that. I asked why she'd kicked my dog and she didn't answer me. She shrugged and tried to escape into her room. At this point, it was already about a year since Kendall moved in with me. I lost my cool and told her off, bringing up her problems and how I tried to be nice and accommodating. Then I told her I'm giving her a week to move out and that from then on rather we keep our relationship casual or we don't ever talk at all. Kendall cried and begged me to not kick her out, but soon it turned into her screaming back at me, calling me a bad friend because apparently in her words, I didn't tell her off on how badly she was behaving, like WTF. There was a lot of back and forth, which I don't remember what I said, but I remember eventually calling her an entitled brat. She cried again, saying it was uncalled for, and stormed off to her room. The next day, I was bombarded with texts from other uni friends. some calling me selfish and others sympathize with me. Apparently, Kendall posted our argument on Facebook and Instagram, painting me to be the bad guy. I was upset at first, but I decided that after Kendall moved out we would no longer be friends, as well as those who took her side of the story and condemned me. Last week, Kendall left, and I have changed the locks on my apartment. I curled up in bed and cried myself out, probably from the sadness of losing a friend, or maybe I am finally letting out all the frustrations. I am definitely still grieving about this loss of a friend, as I've had many good times with Kendall. For now, I want to focus on myself, and hopefully I eventually get over this. Edit. The whole teasing that I have more money than Kendall gotten worse when I told her I was given an offer by an MNC as a senior designer, and I disclosed her the offered salary, as we always did, like I know how much she earns too, which was about 50% more than hers. That was dumb on my part. I now understand why my parents told me to never disclose/discuss salaries the moment I started working. Update 1. Hello everyone. I'm here with some updates about me and my doggo, as well as my now ex-friend, Kendall. Let's start off with the update about myself. I've been doing well, and surprisingly, as some of you mentioned previously, I had gotten over the loss of this friendship rather quickly. My boyfriend planned a trip to a pet-friendly beachfront hotel, and I spent a few days with just my boyfriend and doggo. We played in the seawater, and I watched my dog played in the sand. Overall, had a great time, and we even had grilled fish together while watching the sunset. Doggo had a deboned fish fillet. I am also grateful for my friends who stood by my side regarding this issue. They check in on me from time to time and sent me funny content to watch during my free time. Some of them even told me their stories about Kendall and their discontentment with her behavior, which I will list some below. Friend A. Kendall ridiculed Friend A several times because Friend A earned less than Kendall despite he has worked a year longer than Kendall. Friend B. Kendall trash-talked Friend B's company via Instagram just because Kendall flunked her interview with said company with flying colors. Friend C. Kendall always demands Friend C to be her personal driver during our college days. If Friend C refuses, Kendall will guilt-trip her. Friend D. Ruined Friend D's assignment by pranking him. She actually formatted his laptop when the project was due in 2 weeks. When confronted, all Kendall said was, "Oopsies." There are many more, but these are the more icky ones I've heard from my friends. And now with that out of the way, here is today's main course. After I kicked Kendall out of my house, one of my uni friends, let's call her, and stood by Kendall's version of events and has allowed Kendall to move in with her instead, and called me out of the blue this afternoon, and her first question to me was, "How on earth did you manage to put up with Kendall for a year? She's driving me crazy." Long story short, whatever Kendall did when she's living with me, she now does it too, and snooping in personal items, leaving dirty laundry around, generally being a prick in the butt, and told me she's planning to force Kendall out of her house too. I didn't comment much since and were among those who called me a cruel person. But now it has came back to bite her. But wait, that's not all. According to Kendall lost her job because she tried to ask for a 100% increment and assaulted her supervisor when the increment request was turned down 2 weeks ago. She was immediately escorted out of the office building by security. And she just texted me 20 minutes ago saying she needed a favor from me, that she wants a job at my workplace. I replied stating there isn't any vacancy. TBH, even if there is, I wouldn't hire her, LMAO. So yeah, I hope this is the last time I will hear from Kendall, and I'll only update if somehow something interesting happened that involves Kendall. Update 2. At this point, I wonder if I should change the title to The Kendall Chronicles Rolling on the Floor Laughing. Hello everyone. It's been about 2 months since I kicked my now ex-friend, Kendall, out of my home. For those who has read my story before, just want to let you guys know Doggo and I are well fed and happy. If you guys remember last time, and one of my friends who sided with Kendall told me about all the horrible things that has happened while having Kendall as a roommate. Oh boy, and had to call the cops to evict Kendall. I happened to meet and at a pet-friendly cafe to enjoy a good book yesterday while my doggo gets to enjoy playing at the doggy daycare-ish kind of area. I did wonder if it was intentional on her side, since all my friends know I love this cafe in particular, and greeted me and asked if she could sit and have a chat with me. We started out with some small talk, but the moment she brought up about her evicting Kendall, I just sat there and listened. I gave in a smile and prodded her lightly with a comment I borrowed from the previous comment on Reddit. "Oh, so you're gonna really kick her out then? I remember someone last told me it was cruel to kick a friend out of their homes," and stuttered for a while before saying how I should have made a post to counter/clarify Kendall's social media claims about me. I simply told her neither have I the energy to do so nor I have the need to, which in turn landed us in some brief, awkward silence before I asked what she needed from me, and told me she wanted someone to vent to about Kendall and didn't know who to turn to, and told me she filed a police report against Kendall for theft and destruction of property, and ultimately needed the assistance of police officers to evict Kendall from her home. She is also in the midst of filing a restraining order as she mentioned Kendall looked completely psycho at that moment. Unlike me, and lives in landed property, so I guess she'd be a lot more worried about Kendall coming back to find her. Kendall apparently stole Ann's debit card and spent a whopping $2,000 in total, and only found out about the missing money when she found her debit card missing from her wallet. She checked the bank statements only to find that $2,000 went to clothes, expensive meals, and clubbing activities. At this point, one might ask, how did Ann know it was Kendall that spent that money? Well, the answer presented itself when Kendall came home screaming at Ann for terminating her debit card. According to Ann, Kendall was shouting every insult in the book while flailing her arms around with Ann's debit card in hand, which Kendall proceeded with slamming the card on the table before storming off into her room. That was the first time Ann felt afraid of another person, much less a friend. Since then, Kendall made Ann's life hell on earth. Kendall would leech off Ann's groceries, judges her choice of snacks, body shames, and etc. Kendall also attempted to seduce Ann's boyfriend. She once kissed Ann's boyfriend, let's call him Jason, on the cheek and giggled before running straight for her room during movie night. In another instance, she groped Jason's manhood right in front of Ann, but later claimed that she was drunk and thought what she touched was a couch pillow. The worst thing that Kendall did was throwing herself onto Jason and saying she has a fever, and later guided Jason's hand to feel her breast, in which Ann walked in at the same time Jason's hand was under Kendall's shirt. These incidents has since caused a strain between the three, and Jason felt awkward to the point where he told Ann he would stop visiting her house unless Kendall moves out, and cried for a bit when she reached this part, and then told Kendall to move out and gave her a week to do so. Kendall then cried and ran out of the house only to come back later in the evening to lock herself in her room, and presumed that Kendall is packing her stuff, and she decided to ignore Kendall for the time being. The next morning Ann woke up to the sound of some grunts and broken ceramics. She rushed out to her yard to see an unhinged Kendall swinging a rod against everything she could hit: a tree, flower pots, even the grass on the ground. This led Ann to immediately lock her doors and call the police, fearing for her own safety. The police arrived and handled the situation swiftly, and they took Kendall away. There were still a lot of screaming and shouting. Ann said she's not sure if Kendall is being locked up or has anyone who would have posted bail for her. While I guess it was kinda nice sipping tea about Kendall, but at how Ann described Kendall is behaving, I wonder if she'd actually needed professional help. I can't help but feel sad for her condition despite we have gone no contact for 2 months. Comment 1. Kendall has main character syndrome. She thinks that everything revolves around her and her life. Your best bet is that the both of you pass along the word that she is flat out crazy, and none of your mutual friends should be dumb enough to let her move in, unless that are okay with being stolen from and shit on constantly. Whether she has a mental condition or not, it isn't your problem, it is hers. Unless she hits rock bottom or gets therapy, it will never end. Comment 2. No, I am related to some who act like this. They are entitled to a royalty level, feeling everyone and the whole world owes them everything, a free ride and a living. When they are denied all these things, they just lose all control and either destroy stuff and or physically attack the people who said no to them. They do not accept no as an answer. They also feel they are in the right and that they never do wrong. There is a reason there are prisons for his kinds who destroy other stuff, respect no one, and eventually try to physically force or make O'Hares do what they want them to do. Answer from OP. Yeah, and that's really annoying to deal with. Now I'm unsure if it was that I didn't see this side of Kendall during our college days, or it's only recently that she behaved this way. Either way, I still felt some sadness and pity towards her. Comment 2. I would bet you didn't see it because mommy and her daddy were taking care of it all, so she didn't need to take from you. Also, Hanging out with someone and living with them are two totally different things. However, my best guess is that her parents got fed up and cut her off. Then she moved Yo the next best, closest ATM. Rinse and repeat. As others have said, she will get along like this for a while until she runs out of friends to mooch off of. Then Eth move to a new area to do it all again, or hopefully hit rock bottom and figure out how life actually works. I am sorry you had to be the first teacher of life's lessons. But you have started the classes, and they are getting shorter with each new teacher.